Chapter 1. The call of the abyss. Amara had always felt the pull of the sea. Born in a small fishing village along the coast of the Black Sea, she was unlike anyone else. Her mother, a quiet woman with deep, sorrowful eyes, told stories of a forbidden love with a merman, a secret she took to her grave. Amara grew up knowing she was different. Her silvery hair shimmered like moonlight, and her voice could calm even the wildest storms. On the eve of her 21st birthday, Amara stood at the water's edge, her feet sinking into the cool sand. The waves whispered her name, and a strange melody filled the air, haunting yet beautiful. She felt it deep in her chest, an ancient song pulling her toward the water. As the moon reached its zenith, the sea began to churn violently. From the depths emerged a creature unlike anything she had seen before, a monstrous sea serpent with eyes like molten gold. Its scales glistened, and its roar sent shivers through her spine. "You are the daughter of the tide," the serpent hissed, its voice echoing like thunder. "Your blood calls to the deep. The Black Sea awaits your return." Terrified but unable to resist, Amara stepped forward. The serpent lowered its head, its massive eyes locking onto hers. "The ocean is in turmoil. Dark forces awaken beneath its surface. You are the last hope for balance. Embrace your heritage, or the world above and below will crumble." Amara's heart pounded. She had always known she was connected to the sea, but this revelation was overwhelming. "Why me?" she whispered. "Because you are both human and mermaid," the serpent replied. "You alone can bridge the divide. But beware, child. The sea is not kind to those who hesitate." Before she could respond, a violent wave crashed over her, pulling her into the depths. The water surrounded her, cold and suffocating. Yet as she struggled, something awakened within her. Her legs fused, transforming into a shimmering tail. Gills formed on her neck, and she could breathe underwater. For the first time, Amara felt whole. But as she adjusted to her new form, she realized she was not alone. Shadows moved in the distance, their glowing eyes filled with malice. The creatures of the abyss had come for her, and the battle for the Black Sea had just begun. Chapter 2. Shadows of the deep. Amara floated in the eerie silence of the ocean's depths, her new form both alien and strangely familiar. Her shimmering tail reflected faint light, but it did little to dispel the oppressive darkness around her. The shadows moved closer, revealing themselves to be grotesque creatures, a mix of sea predators and something unnatural. Their bodies were twisted, with jagged fins, rows of sharp teeth, and eyes that glowed with an otherworldly red hue. Instinct surged through her. She swirled her tail, darting away, just as one of the creatures lunged. Its jaws snapped where she had been moments before. Her movements were clumsy at first, but as she swam deeper into the sea, her body adapted, moving with a fluid grace she had never known on land. The melody from earlier returned, guiding her through the maze of rocky outcrops and coral forests. It was as if the sea itself was trying to protect her. She followed the sound, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and determination. The creatures pursued her relentlessly, their speed and coordination unnerving. Amara knew she couldn't keep running forever. She spotted a narrow crevice between two massive rocks and squeezed through, the sharp edges scraping her arms. The creatures clawed at the entrance, but they were too large to follow. For now, she was safe. Breathing heavily, Amara looked around. The crevice opened into a hidden cavern illuminated by glowing algae. In the center of the cavern stood a woman, her hair flowing like seaweed, and her eyes as deep and endless as the ocean itself. "You are the Tidebringer," the woman said, her voice echoing like a current. "The sea has waited for you." "Who are you?" Amara asked, her voice trembling. "I am Nerida, guardian of the Black Sea's heart," the woman replied. "The creatures that chase you are the spawn of an ancient evil, the Leviathan. It has awakened, and it seeks to consume the sea and all who dwell within it. Only you can stop it." Amara shook her head. "I don't even know how to fight. I don't know what I'm doing here." Nerida stepped closer, her gaze unwavering. "You are more powerful than you realize, Amara. The blood of the sea flows through your veins. You can command the tides, summon the creatures of the deep, and wield the very currents. But first, you must believe in yourself." Before Amara could respond, the cavern shook violently. Cracks spread across the walls, and the creatures outside roared louder. "They've found us!" Nerida exclaimed. "There's no more time for doubt." Nerida placed a hand on Amara's shoulder, and a surge of energy coursed through her. Visions flooded her mind, of battles beneath the waves, of merfolk wielding ancient weapons, and of a massive, terrifying figure cloaked in darkness. The Leviathan. Amara's fear began to melt away, replaced by a fierce determination. "Tell me what I need to do," she said. Nerida smiled faintly. "Find the trident of Tethys. It is the only weapon that can defeat the Leviathan. But beware, the path to it is treacherous. You will face trials that will test your courage, your strength, and your heart." Amara nodded, her resolve hardening. She turned toward the crevice, ready to face the creatures waiting for her outside. "I'll find the trident and protect the Black Sea, no matter what it takes." As she swam out of the cavern, the shadows converged on her. But this time, Amara wasn't running. She was fighting back. Chapter 3. The Trials of the Trident. The sea stretched endlessly before Amara as she swam toward the ruins Nerida had described. The trident of Tethys was said to be hidden in a sunken temple at the ocean's deepest point, guarded by ancient magic and deadly traps. Each stroke of her tail brought her closer, but the weight of her destiny pressed on her. The water grew colder and darker as she descended. The light from above faded, until only the faint glow of her silvery scales illuminated the depths. Then she saw it, the Temple of Tethys, a massive structure carved from obsidian, its spires reaching like claws into the abyss. Strange symbols pulsed with an otherworldly blue light, and the sea around it felt alive with energy. Amara approached cautiously, her heart racing. The entrance was guarded by two massive stone statues of sea serpents, their eyes glowing faintly. As she moved closer, the statues came to life, their stone bodies twisting and coiling with grace. "Who dares disturb the temple of Tethys?" one of the serpents hissed, its voice like the grinding of rocks. "I am Amara, daughter of the sea," she replied, her voice steady despite her fear. "I seek the trident to protect the Black Sea from the Leviathan." The serpents studied her, their glowing eyes piercing. "The trident is not for the weak," the second serpent growled. "Prove your worth, or perish like the others who dared to enter." The sea trembled as the serpents unleashed their power. One lashed out with its tail, sending a shockwave through the water. Amara dodged, her movements swift and precise. She called upon the power within her, and the currents bent to her will. She created a whirlpool, trapping one serpent in its grasp while she evaded the other. The battle was fierce, but Amara's newfound strength gave her the edge. she outmaneuvered the serpents, using the environment to her advantage. When the second serpent lunged, she swam between the pillars of the temple, causing it to crash into them. The first serpent, still caught in the whirlpool, roared in frustration before finally submitting. "You have proven your strength," one of the serpents said, its voice grudgingly respectful. "The path to the trident is yours, but beware, the trials within the temple are far more dangerous than we." The serpents returned to their statuesque forms, and the massive doors of the temple creaked open. Amara swam inside, her senses alert. The interior was vast, with walls covered in glowing symbols and carvings depicting the history of the Black Sea. At the center of the chamber stood a pedestal, empty and cracked. Before Amara could investigate further, the temple shifted. The floor beneath her began to crumble, revealing a dark chasm. She dove just in time to avoid falling into the abyss. From the shadows emerged three ghostly figures, their forms translucent and eerie. "We are the keepers of the trident," one of them said, its voice echoing through the chamber. "To claim it, you must pass 3 trials: the trial of wisdom, the trial of courage, and the trial of sacrifice." Amara nodded, determination burning in her eyes. "I'm ready." The first trial began immediately. The chamber transformed, and she found herself in a labyrinth of glowing coral. The voices of the keepers echoed around her. "Find the way out before the walls close in." Amara raced through the maze, her mind working rapidly to decipher the patterns and symbols on the walls. She relied on her instincts and memory, solving puzzles and avoiding traps as the labyrinth shifted and tightened around her. Just as the walls threatened to crush her, she found the exit, emerging into the next chamber. The second trial tested her courage. Amara faced her deepest fear, a vision of her village destroyed and engulfed by the sea. Her people cried out for help, but no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't save them. The keepers whispered, "Will you face the Leviathan, even if it means losing everything?" Through her tears, Amara clenched her fists. "I will face it, no matter the cost. I won't let fear stop me." The vision shattered, and the final trial began. A glowing orb appeared before her, radiating warmth and life. The keepers spoke. "This is a piece of your soul. To claim the trident, you must leave it behind. Without it, you will never be the same." Amara hesitated. The weight of the decision pressed down on her, but she thought of the sea, of her people, and of the world that would be lost if she failed. With trembling hands she placed the orb on the pedestal. The temple shook violently, and a blinding light filled the chamber. When the light faded, the trident of Tethys stood before her, gleaming with untold power. Amara grasped it, feeling its energy surge through her. The keepers' voices echoed one last time. "You have passed the trials, Tidebringer. The trident is yours. But beware, the Leviathan will not wait. The final battle approaches." Amara swam out of the temple, the trident in her hand. The shadows of the Leviathan loomed on the horizon, and she knew her greatest challenge was yet to come. Chapter 4. The Rise of the Leviathan. The sea trembled as Amara emerged from the temple, clutching the trident of Tethys. Its golden shaft pulsed with energy, glowing brighter with each beat of her heart. The water around her felt alive, bending to her will as if it recognized her as its master. But the horizon was dark and ominous. A swirling vortex of black clouds and violent currents marked the Leviathan's awakening. The creatures of the abyss, which had hunted her before, now swam in formation, guarding the path to their master, their glowing red eyes fixed on her, and their guttural growls echoed like thunder. Amara tightened her grip on the trident. She wasn't the same frightened girl who had been dragged into the depths. She was the Tidebringer now, and the sea itself was her ally. As she approached the Leviathan's lair, a massive shadow began to rise from the abyss. First came its eyes, glowing like molten lava, followed by rows of jagged teeth that seemed endless. Its body was a mass of coiling tentacles and fins, its scales dark as night and shimmering with an unnatural iridescence. The Leviathan was colossal, larger than she had imagined, and its presence sent waves of fear rippling through her. "Child of the sea!" The Leviathan's voice boomed, shaking the water around her. "You think that trinket will save you? The ocean belongs to me. It always has, and it always will." Amara steadied herself, summoning the courage she had earned through her trials. "The ocean doesn't belong to you," she shouted back. "It's alive, and it's free. I won't let you destroy it." The Leviathan laughed, a deep and menacing sound. "Then come, Tidebringer. Show me your strength." With a roar, the Leviathan lunged, its massive jaws snapping inches from Amara. She spun out of the way, the trident glowing as she summoned a powerful current to push the creature back. The sea responded to her command, creating whirlpools and walls of water to shield her from its attacks. The Leviathan struck with its tentacles, shattering coral reefs and creating shock waves that nearly knocked Amara off balance. But she fought back, wielding the trident with precision. Each strike sent bursts of energy through the water, injuring the Leviathan and scattering its minions. As the battle raged, Amara realized the Leviathan was drawing power from the abyss beneath it. The dark chasm glowed faintly, pulsing in time with the creature's movements. If she didn't stop it soon, the Leviathan would consume the sea and everything in it. Summoning all her strength, Amara drove the trident into the sea floor, channeling its power. The ocean answered her call, the currents roaring to life as a massive tidal wave formed behind her. She directed it toward the Leviathan, the wave crashing into the creature with a force that shook the depths. The Leviathan roared in pain, but it wasn't enough. It lunged again, its massive body barreling toward her. Amara dodged and struck back, her movements a blur of determination and desperation. The battle seemed endless, with neither side gaining the upper hand. Then she remembered Nerida's words. "The trident is a bridge. Use it to unite the sea's power." Closing her eyes, Amara focused on the trident, feeling its energy connect with every corner of the ocean. She called out to the sea creatures, the currents, and even the plants, everything that lived within the Black Sea. They responded. Schools of fish swarmed the Leviathan, biting and clawing. Giant squids wrapped their tentacles around it, holding it in place. Even the currents shifted, pulling the creature downward. Amara swam above the Leviathan, raising the trident high. It glowed brighter than ever, the light piercing through the darkness. With a cry, she brought it down, driving it into the Leviathan's head. A deafening roar echoed through the sea as the Leviathan thrashed wildly. Its body began to dissolve into shadows, the dark energy dissipating into the water. The vortex above faded, and the sea grew still once more. Amara floated in the silence, her body exhausted, but her heart full of relief. The Leviathan was gone. The Black Sea was safe. As the creatures of the deep swam around her in a peaceful dance, Amara realized she was no longer just a girl from a fishing village. She was the guardian of the sea, the tide bringer, and she would protect this world with everything she had. Chapter 5. The Sea's New Guardian. The waters calmed in the aftermath of the Leviathan's defeat. The once dark and menacing depths of the Black Sea were now illuminated by a faint, peaceful glow that seemed to radiate from the very heart of the ocean. Amara hovered in the water, her breath steady, but her body heavy with exhaustion. The trident of Tethys rested in her hand, its glow dimming as the battle's fury subsided. Around her, sea creatures gathered in awe. Schools of fish swirled in elegant patterns. Bioluminescent jellyfish floated gently, and even the once hostile abyssal creatures watched her with what seemed like respect. The Black Sea was alive again, free from the shadow of the Leviathan. Nerida appeared before her, her ethereal form shimmering in the water. "You have done what no one else could, Amara. You have brought balance to the sea and saved it from destruction." Amara looked down at the trident, the weight of her victory sinking in. It wasn't just me. The sea itself fought alongside me. Its power, its life, it's all connected. Nerida smiled, her expression warm but solemn. "And now, the sea is yours to protect. The trident has chosen you as its wielder, and the Black Sea has accepted you as its guardian. But this is only the beginning of your journey." Amara frowned, her voice tinged with uncertainty. "What if I'm not ready? I didn't choose this. It chose me." Nerida reached out, placing a hand on Amara's shoulder. "No one is ever truly ready for greatness. But you have proven yourself time and again. You fought not for power, but for the life of the sea and those who depend on it. That is what makes you worthy." As Nerida spoke, the sea around them began to shift. The ruins of the Temple of Tethys glowed brightly, and the energy from the Leviathan's destruction seeped into the surrounding waters. Slowly, the temple rebuilt itself, its spires rising once more. At its peak, a glowing orb formed, pulsating like a heartbeat. "The sea has a new heart now," Nerida said. "A piece of you resides within it, Amara. It will guide you and sustain the ocean's balance." Amara nodded, her resolve strengthening. "I will protect the sea, no matter what comes. It's my home now, and my people's legacy." Nerida's form began to fade, her voice softened and distant. "Farewell, Tidebringer. The sea is yours to command. Trust in it, and it will never fail you." As Nerida disappeared, Amara felt a surge of energy flow through her. The trident's glow returned, brighter than ever, and she knew she was no longer just a half-human girl searching for her place in the world. She was a legend, the protector of the Black Sea, and its eternal guardian. Weeks turned into months, and the Black Sea flourished under Amara's care. She roamed its depths, healing the scars left by the Leviathan's reign, and ensuring harmony among its creatures. The villagers on the coast spoke of her in hushed tones, calling her the Sea's daughter or the Tidebringer. But Amara knew her work was far from over. The Leviathan's defeat had restored balance, but the sea was vast and full of mysteries. There would always be new challenges, new threats, and new stories waiting beneath the waves. Standing at the water's edge one evening, she gazed at the horizon. The moonlight reflected off the waves, and the sea's whispers carried a promise of endless adventure. Amara smiled, her heart full of purpose. She belonged to the sea now, and together they would face whatever the future held.